Hello, welcome to Matters of DeCorum. I'm Scott Corum. This is what matters to me. So there's this thing that happens when you run out of ideas. It happens in role-playing games. It happens in 80s horror franchises. It's one of the places my brain runs to, and that is you go to space. Sometimes this is an indication that your series is jumping the shark. All the 80s horror franchises, you could tell when they jump the shark. Maybe it's a little after they jump the shark, but they go to space. Friday the 13th went to space, although, to be fair, Jason X is my favorite movie in the franchise. Leprechaun went to space, Hellraiser went to space. It's just kind of that rite of passage for an 80s horror franchise. Oh yeah. We've come to that point now where we must go to space. Sometimes a television series would do it. It's not always an indication that you're running out of ideas, though. It's not always a shark jump. Sometimes something that you love has been around for a while and you've gotten used to it in this environment that it's in, and you shake things up a little and something new comes out. And it's not so much we're out of ideas over here, but opening up of a new realm of possibilities. AD&D 2nd edition Advanced gave us this latter case where it is more a matter of things becoming possible, open. And that product was a supplement for AD&D 2nd Advanced called Spelljammer. And now you have what appear to be ocean-going ships, but they fly. You got spacecraft and space monsters, and now you're dealing with things out in space and going to other worlds and finding new markets and new monsters and new threats, dealing with those. A whole new ecosystems, whole new adventure loops, whole new possibilities, things that just weren't possible before, because now you're in space. And you can take that adventure that you've been having, a terrestrial adventure with what have you, the fields and the mountains and the forests and the towns and cities. And those characters that have grown up there and think that they've got a grip on it, it's 12th level and they've mastered everything around them, and you're having a hard time finding things that properly threaten you now because you got all the magic and all the attacks and your weapons are optimized for all the stuff you've got to deal with, and now you go to space. Someone attacks or you find a spaceship or something happens, and now you're in a much, much larger theater of engagement, and stuff can go either really, really right, or better, it can go really, really wrong, and now you gotta just try and survive. The Western drawl thing has just been happening more and more. I'm trying to exit it from my speech patterns a little bit, but sometimes for emphasis or when I get really tired, I'll just lapse into good old drawl and be like, I gotta tell someone to get out of town behind noon or there's going to be some trouble around here. Town ain't big enough for two of us. I don't know where that's coming from. I'm just bad habit I'm lapsing into. Gotta stop that. Spelljammer. It opened up this world of possibilities. And now the imagination just kind of flared up. I'm a space gamer from way back. I didn't really get into role-playing games until 6th grade. I was about 12. And when I became aware that these things were available, I was doing role-playing before that. I was heavily invested into let's pretend, make-believe, the daydreaming, but drawing fanciful things and characters. But I didn't have a place to combine all of this in a group activity until I learned that D&D existed and started drawing my maps and having fanciful ideas. And that was a thing. But then I discovered that there was more than just D&D. There were other genres, other games, other stuff. My dad took me to a science fiction gaming store downtown St. Louis, specialized science fiction gaming store. Thank God for the 80s. And just opened my eyes to what was possible, from the Starship Troopers board game to this black box on the back wall with a red stripe on it and writing in big bold white letters. And it was a kind of a paraphrase of some Larry Niven science fiction. Free Trader Beowulf sending out a mayday because he was in trouble, and could you help? And the title of that game system, Traveler. First edition, black box. It came home with me, and I was hooked from that point on. So I did play a lot of D&D because that's the game that everyone else was playing, and I didn't mind that. I had some really good times with that. I had good characters. Eventually, I cut my teeth on role-playing D&D when I actually role-played with other people, but what I really wanted was those space games. Traveler, Star Frontier, TSR came out with their own Star Frontiers with the whole other game world with different aliens and stuff. I loved that. It was basic, it was simple, but there was great art, and I liked the tech, and it was just super slick. GURP Space, 3rd edition, that was eye-opening, and that opened me up to a lot of different possibilities. So I liked GURPS, and GURPS was a little more freeform to me than D&D, or even Star Frontiers, because Star Frontiers had the same kind of D&D issues. And then for 2nd edition, Advanced D&D, they came out with Spelljammer. And now you can take your peanut butter and put it in your chocolate. You took your fantasy ranger elf character and you put him in space, and they're both delicious. Oh, it took the thing that everyone else wanted to do and the thing that I wanted to do, and it put it all together in the same room and made them fight. It was beautiful. And now all the possibilities and all of the things that attracted me to the space genre, all of that intrigue and adventure and doing space rescues, it was there. It was right there now. Mixed up with all the stuff I'd been doing and all the characters that I had and all the gaming we've been, that experience could carry on and go off world. It was life changing to a degree. It's when I really understood that the power of mixing genres, of stepping outside of the framework that one literary or gaming genre gave you and taking it someplace new, someplace different, taking it to space. I can sugarcoat this as much as I want and try and make it a nice general statement and be educational about it. Take it to space. Oh God, that's the stuff right there. There's a reason that 80s kids like me, born in the 60s, but 68. So the 80s was my formative years. It's when I did most of my gaming, when I really learned how to write, where I dug into genre, where I really started to let things flow in my brain, where I finally could. When I was diagnosed with my learning disabilities and got some help for them, I wasn't just lazy and stupid all the time. There was good stuff happening there, and that's when I learned if you are having an issue with your genre, if you need a little boost, a little punch, a little something, you go to space. There's a reason that my worst day of television watching, the worst cartoon watching I'd ever had in the 80s, watching Chuck Norris and Rambo in their cartoon shows, mind you, half an hour apart, separated by the Smurfs, and on 2 different channels, they had the exact Same script, exactly the same script, but it involved Chuck and Rambo, respectively, getting into space and fighting terrorists on the space shuttle. And while it upset me that they were the same script, I watched both shows. I watched all the way through both shows, and I have remembered them to this day. Not merely because they had the exact same script, they just scrubbed the names, but they went to space. They had to put on spacesuits, and they had to use maneuver in zero G, and they had to get to a spaceship and beat up terrorists there instead of just on the planet. And it was open. It was the danger of the vacuum and the exotic experience of being in zero G and spaceships. You ever play Portal? First Portal, second Portal, Portal 2. And the Space Corps, just an AI core whose main personality component is wanting to go to space, screaming space all the time. Space! That or Benny from the Lego movie, 80s spaceman, needed to build a spaceship. Yeah, you know where that stuff comes from. That comes from the 80s. Even before then, I was born in at the heart of the space race. So it was constant in our culture and constant in the literature, and all the cartoons had to talk about space, and all the television. It was everywhere. Star Trek was a fixture in my home. My father and brother were people writing letters to NBC to put Star Trek back on the air when the original series was canceled. And my dad, huge science fiction fan. My brother, huge science fiction fan to this day. So it kind of surrounded me. It surrounded me. It penetrated me. It bound me together. Most I ever bonded with my father. As I had problems with that in 1979 when we saw Star Wars. And that... So space represents a lot of things to me, and is kind of the genre I'm most science fiction is the genre I'm most familiar with, and the one that draws me the most. I don't mind some good fantasy, particularly if they've done their combat well and good swordplay. I love that. But give me Star Wars, give me Star Trek, give me any random thing happening in space. Give me Jason X. Give me Hellraiser in space. Bloodlines. And this becomes relevant because this week, Spelljammer for Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition drops. Friend of mine, thank you, Robin, ran a Spelljammer-like D&D game for us a few months ago. It's been a while, but it was really good and it had a lot of possibilities in there, and it felt right because he's a big Spelljammer fan too. But man, the book drops this week, and I have not been reading too much into the preview material because I want to get the book and have my experience while reading it cover to cover. But from what I hear from other folks, that they've incorporated stuff from Star Frontiers. Star Frontiers has some of the most undervalued and overused material in it ever. Some fans have lovingly brought it forward in time. They incorporated that stuff all into the D6 Star Wars system as a fast fan material. There's an area of the galaxy called the Calthal Outback, which is just Star Frontiers. So good. And yeah, that's up here. That is, as my friend Max would say, living rent free in my head right now. I think it drops the 19th, the 4 days. I think it's Thursday this week. I've seen their preview copies out there. It's one of those rare games I might actually be in line for when the shops open. Because I'm looking forward to the material in it. I like how 5th edition has arranged things. I like how 5th edition has treated previous lore in other areas in some of the other books. But I want to see how they have taken all that wonderful stuff from Spelljammer, all those things that threw all of the elements that I wanted to know in a blender and turned them into this astonishing experience, and brought that forward with the slightly more elegant mechanics and the modern mindset that the book's been taken to. Should be fecking fascinating, and if they have incorporated a good deal of Star Frontiers into it, oh, then there's a new bad guy that I have out there, which I really adore. I love the Sathar as an alien race and as a menace, because individually the creatures themselves are not particularly menacing, but their mindset and their abilities and their technology. I am looking forward to some just astonishing, and if they haven't incorporated the Sathar, I'm going to incorporate Sathar, just let you know. There's the drawl again. It's going to be a good week, and there's some fascinating stuff coming up, and I'm really looking forward to that. Do I have any advice to give this week? And I like to give a little advice. Well, obviously, take your game to space. Take your game to space. They'd have no place to go to space. Cyberpunk game, go to space. Fantasy game, go to space. Everything's fine. Well, aliens invade. Go to space. Now, injecting a little science fiction couldn't possibly hurt. Injecting some fantasy into your science fiction is not a bad thing either. Or throwing some more cyberpunk elements, or getting some near modern. Blasters and lasers are nice to have, but man, give me a fucking slug thrower from time to time. Yeah, update your guns, but cyberpunk style, that goes really, really well. Or fantasy races or technology. You can incorporate reasons why, well, we have blasters, but the defense technology we have is really, really effective against blasters. Not so effective against steel. So if you got swords or arrows or stuff, it's still just as good. But or lensmen, and you have these fights in space where you don't have your inertia, so you've got to come up with new combat tactics. And axes are still really effective if you don't swing them, you just push them. I get hyped for science fiction. I get hyped for mixing it with other things. It's the mixing of the genres, I think, that does more for me than just straight science fiction's fine. Straight fantasy's fine. I like it all, but man, you mix things up and there's just energy released that now you've got more possibilities. Now you've got more stuff. All of which is to say, I'm looking very forward to Spelljammer coming out this week. Thank you for following me along on this particular ramble. I'm hyped, as I have not been hyped before, or for quite some time at the very least. If you enjoyed the video, give me a thumbs up. If you didn't enjoy the video, give me a thumbs down. Feedback is feedback. If you have things you'd like to talk about with your experience with fantasy gaming or space gaming, mixing your genres, things you'd like to hear me talk about, subjects you'd like to hear me cover, leave me a comment down below. I will love getting your comment. You'll love leaving me one. If you have not subscribed to my channel yet, why not? My channel is awesome. Go ahead and hit the subscribe button. If you do, you might want to hit the notification bell so you're alerted when my video becomes available. If you would like to contribute to the channel in a more substantial manner, I invite you to hit me up my Patreon page, www.patreon.com/ScottCorum. Consider donating. Absolutely anything helps, allows me make better videos more often. In the meantime, thank you very much for watching. I'm Scott Corum. This is what does matter to me. I will see you next time on the next Matters of DeCorum.